agenda today, dealing with allowing churches and other houses of worship to be eligible for federal disaster relief assistance.
The bipartisan Federal Disaster Assistance Nonprofit Fairness Act will ensure that houses of worship are eligible for federal funds administered by FEMA.
The administration is interpreting current law to allow some religious nonprofits to receive reconstruction assistance, while others do not. For example, parochial schools and religious hospitals receive funds, while a soup kitchen or a shelter may not, depending on how often it is used for purely religious purposes.
In these trying times, survivors often look to houses of worship for spiritual instruction, guidance, and counseling. The services provided by houses of worship are critical to survivors' full healing and recovery after a disaster. During and after disasters, houses of worship are there at a time when the emotional toll inflicted by a disaster is at its worst. While some may have concerns about providing any type of federal assistance to houses of worship, some types of federal assistance should be and are provided on a neutral basis. Funding provided to a broad class of entities for secular purposes, such as government-funded and sponsored police and firefighting assistance, and protection and recovery from terrorist activities are such examples. Assisting with recovery from a disaster does not promote or establish religion. There is no intrinsically religious purpose in providing disaster assistance. This provision simply recognizes that houses of worship are one aspect of community recovery. This bill helps ensure that our communities fully recover physically, emotionally, and mentally after a disaster.
Today's debate and vote, however, isn't at all about whether or how much funding Congress appropriates to mitigate the impact of Sandy. We've had that vote. Rather, it's about those who are being unfairly left out and left behind. It's about those who help feed, comfort, clothe, and shelter tens of thousands of victims now being told they are ineligible for a FEMA grant. It's unconscionable that foundational pillars of our communities damaged by Sandy, synagogues, churches, mosques, temples, and other houses of worship, have been categorically denied access to these otherwise generally available relief funds. As Nathan Dieman, Executive Director of the Public Policy for the Union of Orthodox Jewish Organizations of America, notes in his excellent legal analysis, which I will include in the record, quote, federal disaster relief is analogous to aid that qualifies as general government services approved by the court in Everson.
Today's legislation is important because it will ensure that houses of worship are treated equitably to other private nonprofit facilities and that they are eligible for federal emergency management agency disaster relief and emergency assistance. I am glad that we are acting today to clarify that FEMA should treat churches, synagogues, and all houses of worship the same as other nonprofit organizations that are working to rebuild affected communities.